The path of villainy has always been uncertain and wrapped in mystery, largely because those who walk this path are often remembered as veiled figures, twisted by ambition, cruelty, or an endless thirst for power. Unusual beings, feared and rejected by history itself. But here, for the first time, something broke that pattern. For even the hero carried within him unusual signs. After the death of Odin, the world leader, it was widely expected that the hero who defeated him in Sovngarde would be, without question, a Nord, a true son of Skyrim, shaped by ice, war, and the ancient traditions of his people. However, the shock was profound when it was revealed that the blood of Akatosh could bless someone beyond the human ethnicities traditionally linked to the power of the Thune. The chosen one was not a Nord, he was a Breton, an experienced mage, skilled in the arcane arts, who had risen as a hero in a land where Nord blood was high valued and where magic was often viewed with distrust. Something honestly unusual. That Breton had always seen Skyrim as the other side of the same coin as his homeland, the imperial province of High Rock. Both harsh, both proud, both scarred by ancient wars. Even divided by rival factions in an endless civil war, Skyrim was still held together by a clear structure. High kings stood above the Jarls, and the Holds answered to a recognized authority, even if that authority was contested. But in High Rock, there was not a single moment in his memory when his homeland had ever looked like that. And knowing that this was truly his place in the world, the Dragonborn said farewell to his home in Brisholm. His journey would now continue in the land of the Breton kingdoms. Many across Tamriel still view High Rock as a unified province, dotted with a few important cities, not very different from Cyrodiil or even Morrowind. But to the misfortune of the Breton people, reality was far removed from this simple vision. In the present era, High Rock was home to 5 major kingdoms, alongside several smaller realms within them. Through their borders, names, and political states were constantly shaped and reshaped by the passage of time. Borders shifted, alliances collapsed. New crowns rose from the ashes of old ones, especially after the warp in the West during the Third Era. There had never been a king, governor, or even a regent who ruled all those lands. High Rock was, without question, the most fragmented province in all of Tamriel, and the Dragonborn never forgot that. Since the First Era, the Bretons had organized themselves into feudal kingdoms, city-states, temporary alliances, and rival noble houses. Over time, some kingdoms merged into others, while new ones emerged through bloody wars. Officially, High Rock was still an imperial province, answering only to the emperor above its kings. But a distant emperor could never sustain the unity the Bretons had needed for centuries. It was in the kingdom of Gehenna that everything began to change. Due to its proximity of the rich region of Skyrim, Johanna was the first city to receive the hero of the North on Breton soil. His arrival divided the city. Like Faerun, Johanna had long absorbed Nordic influences, yet both remained independent realms, neither ruled by the Nords nor by Evermore. There, he was praised by some and watched with deep suspicion by others. Johanna was a border city, shaped by constant wars, intense trade, and long periods of imperial neglect. Its people were familiar with Redguard's invasions, Richmond raids, and repeated conflicts against Orc from the mountains. It was there that the Dragonborn had his abilities tested by local factions, just as his own had in Skyrim. And before long, his reputation was undeniable, not only in the kingdom of Johanna, but throughout the neighboring kingdom of Evermore. So much so that, not long after, he was appointed High Marshal of Evermore. Commanding both Breton levies and imperial auxiliaries, he protected trade routes, crushed Richmond incursions, and restored order, without ever claiming sovereignty or demanding a crown. Even so, rumors spread. To some kingdoms, the Breton Dragonborn represented hope. To others, he was a spark far too dangerous for a powdered keg, ready to explode. Under the weight of the White Gold Concordat, peace with the Aldmeri Dominion was fragile and humiliating. Many Breton nobles saw in the Dragonborn exactly what they feared most: a hero capable of breaking treaties, or worse, a king capable of destroying them. No kingdom watched Evermore more closely than Daggerfall. Ancient, martial, and deeply loyal to the Imperial Order, the court of Daggerfall chose not to condemn the Dragonborn publicly. They did something far worse. They denied him. No recognition, no treaties, no right of passage. In silent chambers, far from the public eye, the Dragonborn received the title that terrified Breton nobility the most: a second septim. Trade slowed, borders hardened, garrisons grew. War had not yet been declared, but it was already prepared. Wayrest, however, was the first to act openly. Its merchant princes did not fear legends, they feared chaos. When the Dragonborn arrived, he spoke not of crowns and thrones, but of clear guarantees: security for caravans, stability for gold. In return, Wayrest offered ships, coffers, and recognition, not to a king, but to a cause. From that moment on, unification was no longer just a whispered humor. In North Point and Shornhelm, fear took another form: civil war. The great houses, Doro, Montclair, and Tamrith, stood on the edge of mutual destruction. The Dragonborn intervened not as a conqueror, but as an arbiter, offering a final judgment. North Point and Shornhelm could not be for the peace secured by their new mediator. Camlorn, meanwhile, had fallen in the past eras to the Reachmen. Over time, it rose again as a weaker state, less fortified than its neighbors, and far removed from its former glory. Since learning of the Breton Dragonborn's presence in High Rock, the people of Camelorn saw him as real hope. They believed he could guide them into a new age of greatness. Thus, a state pardon was issued, guaranteeing the Dragonborn the title of Duke of Camelorn, sealed with the approval of every noble in the region. A clear invitation to power. It was their greatest mistake. Daggerfall, already inflamed by fear of the Dragonborn, would never tolerate him ruling a neighboring land. Without hesitation, Daggerfall invaded Camelorn with all its strength. Before any kingdom, or even the Dragonborn himself, could react, the armies of Daggerfall had taken the city. Publicly, they justified the invasion as a preventing measure, claiming they were protecting the province from conflicts with the Empire or even the Aldmeri Dominion. In truth, they had always wanted an excuse to annex their neighbors, no matter how small. To the Dragonborn, however, the nobles of Daggerfall were nothing more than tyrants who needed to be stopped. After meeting with the King of Evermore, the Dragonborn led a defensive force along the borders with Wayrest, uncertain of Daggerfall's next move. Meanwhile, reformist ideas spread across the kingdoms. Distant groups saw the empire as weak and distant, wishing to break from imperial authority in exchange for a unified realm under a Breton king. This deeply displeased Daggerfall. As the most loyal kingdom to the empire, such a movement will place them directly against the White Gold Concordat. Still, the Breton insurgents looked to Hammerfell as a clear example of resistance. The Red Guards had fought the Aldmeri alone and survived as an independent nation. The Dragonborn became the living symbol of this idea. To them, a Breton Dragonborn was the final choice to lead their cause. When the caravan of revolutionaries was intercepted by a Daggerfall patrol near the North Point border, Daggerfall concluded that the kingdom had chosen a side. Once again, they struck their own blood. When the first news of war reached Evermore, Faerun, and Johanna, the general sought the Dragonborn to organize a defense of Northpoint and Shornhelm. But his was nowhere to be found. Like smoke, the Dragonborn vanished, yet some still saw hope in his disappearance. Thus, the forces of Wayrest and Evermore joined in Northpoint against Daggerfall. Even so, Daggerfall's victories were constant, and defeat seemed inevitable. Until, on the plains of Evermore, the Dragonborn returned, and he was not alone. He came with an army of orcs from Skyrim. His absence now made sense. Instead of wasting time debating a orc alliance with the Bretons, the Dragonborn had secretly traveled to Skyrim. He visited every stronghold one by one and made a promise: Orsinion, the ancestral land of the orcs, razed and destroyed many times across the ages in High Rock. The Dragonborn promised them a permanent homeland in their ancient Orsinion if they helped him win the war. The orcs were not there merely to aid the Dragonborn. Like the Breton reformists, they fought for the rights to reclaim their own land. Breton, Orc, and Dragonborn fought side by side against the armies of Daggerfall. When the war ended, High Rock was unrecognizable. Ruins, kingdoms shattered, armies destroyed, kings slain. For a moment, it seemed impossible that a new realm could rise from such a devastation. But the path was open, and only one figure remained standing to lead that people. Settling in Nevermore, he was crowned king, not of High Rock, but of a new Breton realm, High Bretonia. The name was chosen not to only restore Breton pride, but to announce to the world that a new hope had risen. High Rock had been a land of fractured kingdoms. High Bretonia was now a land of one realm. True to his promise, the Dragonborn granted the orcs control of ancient Orsinium, destroyed long ago in the First Era. Among his first decrees, he formalized alliances with Orsinium, Hammerfell, Skyrim, and Morrowind. He also addressed the Forsworn crisis, allowing the worship of the old gods within High Bretonia, so long as the rich men abandoned violence. Madanak accepted the terms. Before a public square, the Dragonborn used the sharp points of his crown to tear apart a copy of the White Gold Concordat, declaring independence from the Empire and sending a clear warning to the Aldmeri Dominion. Though still maintaining an alliance with the Empire, High Bretonia made it clear it was ready to form a fourfold alliance with Skyrim, Hammerfell, and Morrowind. The Aldmeri Dominion merely watched, aware, cautious. For the silence of the Aldmer had always been more dangerous than their blades or their magic. But now, seated upon the throne of High Bretonia, stood a king of balance and iron resolve, with the soul of a dragon, ready to repel any elven or human threat against his new people, the High Bretons.